This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
Only 2 races left before the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs begin, which means only 2 more chances for drivers on the outside looking in to win their way into the playoffs. And if you're going to do that, your best chance is this weekend. The Coke Zero Sugar 400 in Daytona is going to be a banger with lots of playoff implications and a lot of drivers who realistically could win their way into the playoffs. So it should be a pretty fun race. We're going to break down that race today and outline my top bets at FanDuel Sportsbook, considering playoff implications, considering all that could occur in what should be a very fun race. This is Covering the Spread, a FanDuel research podcast. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, here to break down the Coke Zero Sugar 400 and outline my top bets across that race at FanDuel Sportsbook. We'll dive into all that here in just 1 second, but first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. Our breakdown of NFL or of College Football Week 0 is already up. Talk to Austin Swaim on Tuesday, getting his thoughts on the futures market and his best bets across Week 0 in college football. To get that and all of our other shows as they are posted, just search for Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget you can find us on FanDuel TV Plus and the FanDuel YouTube page as well. If you're watching the FanDuel YouTube page, leave us a thumbs up. We appreciate all of you who have done so already there. And don't forget to subscribe to the FanDuel YouTube page as well. Download FanDuel TV Plus on your Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Roku device. Football is back, and there's no better place to get in on the NFL action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, all customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. Plus, with FanDuel, you don't even have to leave the app to access real-time stats and data to help you make even more winning bets. Download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC. Offer ends 9/22/24. After 3-week free trial, the full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally. Cancel anytime, no refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit Gambling Helpline or ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's take a look at the betting odds over at FanDuel Sportsbook for this week. Before we take a look at the actual bets I like, do you want to go through what the playoff implications are for this race? As mentioned, drivers who are not in the playoffs can win their way in and clinch a spot. Looking at my model for this week, there are a lot of drivers that could realistically do that. There are 31 drivers who have at least 1% win odds by my model, and nobody's above 6.7%. Of those 31 drivers who have a 1% win chance, 18 of them are not currently in the playoffs. So the stakes here are through the roof. And that means there are a lot of guys who could find their way in the playoffs here, and they're going to be highly motivated to do so. That means that they're going to push, but it also could mean if they've got a teammate who is already locked in or is not in the playoff discussion because they're not eligible, they're probably going to try to push them towards wins. Saw that 2 years ago. Tyler Reddick was locked in, and he pushed his teammate Austin Dillon to the win in a rec field race. So it's important to keep in mind when you're looking at drivers who may not be full-time drivers, may not have postseason aspirations. They may not push for a win and instead prioritize pushing their teammates to win. That will play into one of our bets we're going to discuss later on. Let's begin things, though, by talking about my favorite bet, my favorite driver to bet on for this race. That's Austin Cindric. Cindric is a guy who came on the Cup Series scene as a rookie, and he won the Daytona 500 in his first race as a full-time driver. He's been pretty good since then too. So I like Cindric at 28-1 to win this race, and also top 5 at plus 360. Mentioned that Daytona win for Cindric. He also had a Daytona win in the Xfinity Series at Daytona. So he's been good on this track type, getting wins in both those series. But also he's been good since the Daytona 500 as well. He has run 15 pack races during the next gen era. So Daytona, Atlanta, or Talladega. In those 15 races, Cindric has 5 top 5 finishes. 3 of those are podiums, including the win at Daytona. So a 33% top 5 rate for Cindric in this time, which is a really, really good number given how chaotic these races can be. I think he's done enough to prove that he is a legit talent and a legit threat to win every time these cars come to a pack track. Cindric drives for Penske or Team Penske. There are no playoff considerations there because he, Joey Logano, and Ryan Blaney are all locked into the playoffs already. My model adores all 3 Team Penske drivers. Blaney and Logano are the top 2 highest win odds in my model, and Cindric is a good value for me. I've actually got him at 5.6% to win this race. That is way above his implied odds at 3.5%. But I do think it makes sense based on Cindric's track record, both in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series on pack track. So I am very okay betting Cindric 28-1 to win Saturday night's race and get his second win of this year. What I want to do with this spec, I mentioned I do have some value on him to finish top 5 as well, is take your typical bet size you'd be okay allocating and potentially losing, given it's a chaotic race. Place the largest portion of that on his top 5 odds and put the rest on the outright. The top 5 odds for Cindric are plus 360. The implied odds of plus 360 are 21.7%. I've got him at 24.6% to finish inside the top 5. So straight up, this is a good bet based on my numbers. Cindric to finish top 5 at plus 360, but I also want the upside should he win. Again, I've got a good bit of value there and actually better value on the outright. So what I would want to do personally is take my typical bet size, put more than half of it on Cindric to finish top 5, and then put the rest on him to win this race, giving myself upside should he win, but also benefiting from the fact that Cindric has done a really good job of getting top 5s at this track type in the Cup Series and could potentially be a threat to win once again on Saturday. So I get upside and the safety of giving a lot of flexibility with that primary market. Other guy I'm pretty close to having, I actually do have outright value on, is Todd Gillan. It's at 40. He's at 41-1 to win though, and you can probably find a better number than that. 41 is okay for Gilly. I've got him at 3.1% to win this race. So I did bet Gilliland at 50-1 earlier on this week. 41-1 is still a value based on my numbers, 2.4% implied again versus 3.1% for me. I don't see value in Gilliland in the top 10 or top 5 markets, but to me, there is value in him to win. So if you are comfortable with Gilly at 41-1, I could definitely see doing that. He's been very fast in the pack tracks this year. He and Michael McDowell, his teammate, led a bunch of laps at Daytona and Atlanta. And Gillen has done this for a while now in the Cup Series, so not a huge surprise to see him running up front. I'd want a bit longer than 41 for the outright personally, but if you want a second long shot, want a second outright, I do think Gillen would be the preferred guy to turn to there. The other bet I am okay with, based on the current odds of FanDuel Sportsbook beyond Gillen, the one I feel better about right now, is actually Austin Hill. Hill, if you pay attention to the Xfinity Series, you know he is a demon on pack tracks down there. He has won 6 out of 14 races. 3 of those wins have come at Daytona. He also is runner-up in one of those races. He is really, really good on this track type. So you might say, why don't we take him to win? But that comes down to the discussion we had earlier on about the playoff implications of this race. Austin Hill's job this weekend is to push Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon to the win. Both those drivers not currently in the playoffs, but they want to be, and they're eligible for the playoffs, whereas Hill is not. He is a full-time Xfinity Series driver. He is here to help his teammates, and I think that will be his mission for this week. So I do see value in Hill to win at 90-1 at FanDuel Sportsbook. And if it weren't for this consideration, I'd happily take him because, again, he has this great track record in the Xfinity Series, and I could definitely see him doing that. But his motivation this week is to push Kyle Busch, push Austin Dillon to victory lane, as we've seen, again, RCR drivers do in the past. But as far as the top 10 goes, that I don't care as much about because he can finish top 10 while still prioritizing the race for those other drivers. And he's going to be pretty good, I think. We've seen Hill race in the Cup Series a bit at Pack Tracks, but it's primarily been for Beard Motorsports, which is an underfunded team. This time he's actually an RCR proper, so the equipment will be good, but he actually, as you can see here on the screen at FanDuel TV or on FanDuel YouTube, he actually has the 5th longest odds to finish top 10, and I don't know why that's the case. When you combine how good he is in the Xfinity Series with the fact that he'll be driving for RCR, a team that won Daytona in 2022, they won Talladega last year with Kyle Busch. Busch finished 3rd in Atlanta this year. So it's been a tough year for RCR, but they've got speed on Pack Tracks, and Hill is a guy good enough to take advantage of that speed. So at plus 390, I'm willing to buy in there. It takes into account the fact that he may push his teammates to the win. We're navigating around that, but also accounts for how good he is in this track type. I have a 22.3% to finish top 10. His applied odds are 20.4%. So a value for me to snag a top 10 in his solo excursion to the Xfinity Series or to the Cup Series, as he carries that dominance from the lower series to the Cup Series as well. So if we look at the Coke Zero Sugar 400, the bets I like most at FanDuel Sportsbook, Austin Hill top 10 plus 390, Austin Cindric to win 28-1, Austin Cindric top 5 plus 650, and then considering Todd Gillan, if he does lengthen longer than 41-1, I'd be willing to buy in there as well. So those are my top bets for this week. We're rooting for Austins in general this week, it seems, at FanDuel Sportsbook. That is all that we have here for today on Covering the Spread. Back with you once again tomorrow, though. We're going to have Raheem Palmer of The Ringer on, talk about some NFL futures, talk some preseason NFL takeaways, and the biggest takeaways for him from what we've seen so far this preseason. If you want some thoughts on the NFL preseason, want some bets for those, did write up Thursday's games on FanDuel Research earlier on. We'll have betting guides for the Friday and Saturday games up as well. FanDuel.com/research for all those. If you got any questions for me, I am on X at Jim Sonis. You can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Want to thank you all for tuning in for today. Good luck to you with your bets in the Coke Zero Sugar 400. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow to talk some NFL preseason with Raheem Palmer. This has been Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast.